if you're going to be in this business, be in this business and let everyone know you're in this business. Be proud of what you're doing. CoachPete.com. Just go to CoachPete.com and you can find my contact information there. CoachPete.com. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right? Keep it
simple.
simple.
You got
to keep
it doesn't
simple.
have to be hard.
Keep it simple, and the money will follow.
But you do have to work hard.
I love working hard. If you don't love working hard, probably the wrong business to be in, because we're in a constant flux of change here. We've got competition from every direction. But we'll talk in about 20 years, and I'll be doing something different probably. But it'll be something to do with financial world. But it'll be a different way to get in touch with people. But right now, media is what we found really works good. Media using your website to portray the videos, or TV stations, or putting some video to your audio segments and putting them all over Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. All sorts of different places to get the magic leads formula is to make sure you have leads coming from a lot of different directions.
Yeah. Well, anybody who has scale production knows that they're not one trick pony.
Correct.
They got diversity, platform diversity, medium diversity.
Yep.
And to be honest, in my short time in this industry, I've been around in sales, professional, digital marketing, working with some of the biggest people in this country. I don't know if there's anybody out there that is coming from a better place of experience and validation of doing it himself, doing radio and media and podcasts and that modern form of media, for people who want to top the leaderboards, for the big advisors, the firm owners, the professional service providers, the CFPs, the AUM guys, and the annuity only producers, but are really income, principal protection, planning specialists. I'm preaching to the choir here, but Coach is the guy for that. And that's why, he's now a friend of mine. I appreciate that, Coach, and the relationship that we've been able to build. I was literally just on with some of my inside guys, my associates. We talked about when you were here at the office, right?
Yep.
Seth and Matthew. And I mean, Seth just, virtually issued in the past 4 days, about 1.7 million,
Nice.
And so, and that's a guy who 3 years ago wasn't licensed, was selling tea. And now he's probably, he's you have one of these, and we'll get into this more deeply, that kind of key protege. Like, there's the power laws in this business and all businesses, right? Which is you have that one person who gets it, sees it, and just works their face off, right? And Seth is that guy. He's been around for a while. He was with us in the bar business and all that stuff. And
nice.
But the reason why I shared that with you is because you just mentioned Steve Harvey, and we were literally just talking about Steve Harvey because I love his YouTube content. Like, he's an
entertainer, man. He's an entertainer.
Yeah,
that's what I like about Steve. I mean, and he really leaves politics on the side, which people can follow somebody like that and not have to worry about their friends shunning them or asking them why they're listening to somebody like that. Hey, I just saw your buddy Mike Milligan. He tell you he was in New York with me?
We were texting, and I'm the younger guy with a couple kids that are 3.5 and a 10-month-old, but I'm a huge Chris Voss fan.
Oh yeah,
and so tell me about that. What were you guys there doing?
Yeah, we did a 1-day Broadway performance with Chris called Negotiating Life. He's a good negotiator. It was really good. It was about an hour and 10 minutes. I thought it was pretty good. I only fell asleep one time. There's a picture of me sleeping. Whenever the lights go down, I'm in a comfortable seat. I just go to sleep sometimes. So that's what I do.
I'm with you. Yeah, you sometimes I go to the movies just to get some rest.
Yep. I've flown enough, so I can sleep in a seat now. But I mean, yeah, it was great. We had a good time. Chris, I think Mike got to meet Chris afterwards too. Hopefully, he did at the after party. I got Mike VIP passes into the after party with me, so I'm sure he had a good.
Well, I was going to text you. Mike told me in advance. I know we've grown in our relationship over the years, and maybe calling a favor because. I mean, I'll just give me 1 second. I was literally just doing a video
there you go.
With for my YouTube channel. But I mean, Never Split the Difference, seminal book for me in just kind of learning communication. I know Chris Voss, he talks about like negotiation is really just communication for an effect, for a result.
Yep.
And I certainly saw that when I first went through his book when it first came out, and I've studied it, been a student of it. And I think for me, and maybe you can add to this in your career and journey, I've realized that learning's on the other side of doing, and I think people look to me as the coach to over 1,000 virtual insurance agents, and now more and more retirement income professionals focusing on annuity production and retirement planning and all that stuff. And I'm sure we'll get more into that. But when I talk about that, but for 2 decades now, I read the book and I just go and start using it and I implement it. And that's certainly the case, mirror labeling, no-oriented questions. I use it every day. And so I'm a huge fan, but more importantly, implementer
Right.
of what Chris teaches. And so when I heard Mike was doing that, I was like, oh man, that's an incredible moment. There will be other moments. Right now, I'm dad. I got
I
other
hear
travel
you.
coming up. You and I will probably be together in a couple months, end of July into August, right? On
Yep.
that, and so I was like, no, I'm not going to call in that favor. But I was getting texts, and I said to Mike, I said, did you mirror label and get a no from him, Mike? And he goes, no, I did ask him if he needed his bourbon refilled, and he said no. So there's that.
Yeah, Chris is with me on the Bourbon Club too. So we have 30 guys, Chris being one of them, that found their own bourbon, and it's a business only. It's by delivery only, to subscription only. So you can't go into you can't just get it. It's an exclusive kind of bourbon. So plus it's won gold medals now, and Mike got to try some of that at the after party too. We were serving our bourbon at the after party.
Is that what's on your desk?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
I know one of the things that connected us, when I first met you, obviously we have connections in some of our other relationships, but when we first met and we didn't know that we would start to grow in this relationship, and for me, like I just look up to you and your experience in this industry, and I really appreciate you jumping on with me today. This is just like a really free form kind of budding podcast that I put out, that I've realized I've just developed so many incredible relationships. And I think a lot of the people that follow me and my communities, being this new guy coming from another industry of technology and marketing with big companies, and now being in this retirement planning space, and more I meet guys like you, and Mike Milligan's a business partner of mine, and a friend, and you guys grew up in the same town, right?
Yeah, my mom taught him 7th grade.
But you didn't even know.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know him until when we started with Dr. Phil stuff.
Yeah.
So last year when he came into my office, he said
he came with me, and I invited him there.
That's right. That's right.
Because
so they're a small world.
Yeah, and the first time I ever did, kind of an episode like this, and I don't even know what we're calling it yet, to be quite honest with you. But the first time I did that with Phil, it was just like, we have a great relationship. I can learn a lot from you. That's what started Phil and I's relationship. We met at an industry conference. I think it was just over 4 years ago now. I wasn't licensed at the time. We were just a digital marketing company at the time. He spoke. I was there with somebody on my team. I didn't even speak, but I was up there. I was the founder of the company and all that stuff. But somebody from my team spoke at the time. I want to just put them on. I love speaking, clearly.
Yep.
Right. And then at the back of the room, we were just like the 2 guys that just spoke a few slots apart at this IMO conference, and we exchanged numbers, and then we had a Zoom meeting probably every other week for almost a year. And because he was just like, man, and I didn't even know, just like when I first met you, I didn't even know the whole story. I just love, sometimes my wife says your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And so
Good way. Say it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And so that was what was true with Phil. And then Phil decided to put this thing together that connected us. And the first one was at your office in Raleigh.
Yep.
And I knew of you because just hearing the name, because of Kyle and Jim.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yep. That's right.
And then I got to the office, right? And I said, Mike, this is cool, which is rare, but I think that's the special part of our relationship. Mike's an incredible, a producer out of Virginia,
Yep.
CFP, 23 years in this business, maybe 24, 800 million in career production. And I somehow had a relationship opportunity to introduce him to something. I'm honored and humbled in that moment. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard of Coach. Cool. His office. Wow. That would be neat. Okay. Yeah, Phil. Sure.
Yep. There you go.
Hey, Mike, I'm doing that. You know of him. Okay, cool. Do you want to Yeah, okay. And then that was the first time we met. And I was connecting all the dots in this story time session that we're doing here. The first thing that connected us and, bourbon was, for me, maybe you didn't even know it at the time, but, I'm a wine guy, but I'm younger and I'm catching up to your storage requirements.
I hear you.
And, I got some here because it doesn't fit at home anymore, which is, I think, and here at the office. And so, my question for you, before we get into maybe more some business stuff, but you keep it on the personal and the things that you're up to lately, is what took you from wine to bourbon, or was that always the case?
Well, number one, wine's expensive. The more you drink it, the more expensive it gets because you start to like better and better wines, and you have to drink it right away or it's not good anymore. So what I like about bourbon, you can open it up, have a glass or two or a sip or two, and then put it back away on the shelf for 6 months or more, and it's still going to be good when you open it the next time. Number two, wine started giving me bad, especially Cavs started giving me heartburn really bad, dude. So I used to be able to drink 3 or 4 bottles a night if I wanted to. Plus, I was gaining a lot of weight with that sugar. So my doctor said I have to stop drinking, eating so much sugar. So I got rid of wine. I lost like 20 pounds. Pretty funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
I still like wine.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I got a couple coolers at home.
There you go.
I fill them up and then I stop buying for like a year. And then lately I was like, I'll just ship it to the office.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I got plenty. I got wine fridges all over the office. I got a wine cellar at home. But the problem again, with Napa wine, it doesn't last as long as you think it's going to last either. I mean, it starts to go bad 10 years later. It's already going bad. That's not good. It's getting weak.
It's not like the old world stuff, which I'm a new world guy, so I get it.
I was told back in the day that put a wine on the shelf, it'll be good in 100 years. But that must be some French wine. Or once you open it, once you buy it, like you pay a lot of money for a 100-year-old wine. If you open it, it could suck. Who are you going to blame? Nobody. So, I mean, to me, crazy.
This didn't work.
Yeah, I know. It's just, it doesn't, who are you going to get your money back from? That happens too. But no, I still like wine, but I mean, I'm more partial to bourbon now because I don't have to drink as much to have a good time too. And, it's a good sipping drink instead of wine. I was like, I don't guzzle it, but it was so easy to drink wine. Too easy to drink wine, because it's nice and sugary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still like it.
I don't know if you know this. Before I got here to Nashville, I lived in New York City, and one of my twin brother and I, who's my business partner, and radical change, and we just kept pursuit of like finding where opportunity was, and we've landed in this industry that we're both in, and what's connected us. But before that, we had our own bar in New York City, in Brooklyn specifically, and so now I was more the business operations, but Brian, my twin brother, came from the restaurant business, 15 years, award-winning chefs in Chicago. And then we had an opportunity. We opened our own place. I built it, designed it all myself. I was in construction business at the time, so literally did the plans, hired the contractors, GC'd the whole project, and then built the thing. And so we had the bourbon collection on the back bar, and my brother just knew. One of the things we used to say in our bar and teaching our staff, we ran a great business, got out in 2018 because that was luck, I guess, and then left New York City before the craziness of 2020.
Oh, yeah.
But, and it was just by choice. We're like, kind of what you were just saying. We don't need to be in the bar business for the rest of our life. It's not good for our health. Yeah. And so that, among many other reasons, was the case. We transitioned out of it. But the thing is I really learned because my brother was an aficionado of the product, and one of the things that we would say was the margin is in the story, and that is the idea that when you're talking to somebody across the bar, if you can introduce the new story to somebody, then you get to keep the margin. But if you sell a brand that somebody else put up on billboards, like a Patron on the tequila side, or maybe Blanton's now at this point on the bourbon side, and you don't know how to curate and really understand what makes a great product in these other areas, you pay for their story and they get the margin. And so my brother was brilliant at that, and is one of the things that made our ability to run a very successful and profitable business in New York City, one of the 5 boroughs, Brooklyn specifically, in a place where, I don't know, what do they say? It's like $100,000 food, or 100,000 location, restaurant, beverage, kind of choice opportunities throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City. It's crazy, but we ran won a bunch of awards and ran a
Nice.
profitable business. And but we love hospitality. So when I hear like it's such an interesting connection for you that you connected on that experience, and we've spent some time together in some great experiences in different parts of the world at this point, full circle, because I don't know as much about bourbon as my brother does. He don't drink much anymore, and I have his whole bourbon collection at my house for when people like you come over and say,
I'll
oh
have to
yeah,
keep that in mind.
here we go. Next time you're here,
Yes.
come on through. I got some stuff because
There you go.
we used to own it, but I would love to try that. And
I'll bring some of mine. See, we'll exchange.
I'll text you about this private opportunity here because that sounds pretty sweet and
Yes, sir.
for sure. So I guess diving in, when I was talking to Phil, and when we first connected, one of the things that I didn't really learn until that conversation, that's what's the best part about this podcast opportunity, is how incredible his career had been up until that point. Like the things that he was a part of, the growth that he experienced, the production that he drove, in the role that he played. I really got to hear a lot of that story. And what's so remarkable, and I think the same thing is true for you, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation, is that when you meet Phil, you never hear about any of it.
No, he's just a normal guy like you and me.
Yeah. And so
it's not bragging.
I'm not here to hear you brag about yourself, but I think it would be so helpful to me and anybody who gets to listen or watch whatever version of this gets published, that we both decide on. I would love to just hear a bit more of your story and maybe tell a bit more of your story, because I find the people that I work with at times, I'm known as the 0 to 1, 0 to 2 million virtual annuity guy. What do I mean by that? I help guys go from being just life insurance agents to shifting with that same license to seeing themselves as virtual retirement income professionals, to operate in this virtual environment. Sometimes just getting a sales process down to operate and sell in this environment. You and I maybe talked about how you do things in radio and in person. And I talk about that story when I teach people. I was like, the tokens of trust, the way that you need to connect with people in a virtual sales process is different than the way my friend Coach Pete does it off a radio. And I know you do virtual and stuff now too, and those other things. And so if you could take me back to some of the conversations that we have, so I could introduce people a little bit more to your story in this industry and how you have grown and transitioned into whatever part of the story you want to tell. And but for me, if I could just give you one thought for part of stories that inspired me, is where you were in the seminar game before you got into radio. If you want a starting point, or if you want to go before that, I would love to just have some people hear some of that story like I've heard it, because it's been so inspiring to me from the people that I get to learn from, like you, and then continue to connect with and grow from. Coach, I don't know if I've ever said this to you, you're kind of like, I see you as like a mentor from afar, and that's how I treat all the people that I come in contact with when I read books, like from Chris. I've never met Chris. You're personal friends with him, but for me, he's a mentor of mine. I don't go out and say that to people and play that weird game. No, I listen and I implement, because as a mentor to so many, and maybe you can attest to this, is that the greatest reward that I have in mentoring others, in coaching people, and you, Coach Pete, maybe you can relate to this, is that when I teach you something, you trust it, you implement, and you win. That's all the payment I need from those types of people. And so tell me about your story.
Yeah, we'll go back to 1988, where I left college, UNC Chapel Hill, and had to start making money. No more living off mom and dad, even though I did not live off mom and dad. I worked 3 jobs when I was in college to pay myself through school tuition and doing fun things that I wanted to do. Tuition back then was $148 a semester at UNC. $148 a semester. That was tuition. But if you wanted room and board, that's another $7,000. And if you want basketball and football tickets, which who didn't, it was like $300. I missed Michael Jordan by 1 year. I started in 1984 and he left in 1983 at UNC. But it was still fun to go to the basketball games and all that. So when you get out of school, well, even rewind even further, when you get into college, a lot of folks that you meet there, they already have a plan. I was always jealous of the people who said, I'm going to 4 years here, major in biology, then I'm going to go to med school, and I'm going to do this and this, and then 15 years later, I'm going to make money. Or I'm going to go to law school after this, and 3 or 4 years later, I'm going to be a junior guy and then work for somebody else for 10 years and then make money in 14, 15 years. I'm kind of impatient, Jim. I didn't want to wait. And plus, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I still don't know what I want to do in life. And I'm 59 now, but I'm having fun while I'm killing time until my real career happens. A lot of people have the same feeling, by the way. You never really know. I'm a Gemini too, so I'm never really happy. I'm always going to have 3 or 4 things going on. So I was a mortgage broker. I said I was a field closer, so I was a people person. So I traveled to North Carolina, worked for a company called Mr. Cash. Mr. Cash had Billy Packer as a spokesperson. Billy Packer was a famous basketball announcer back in the day. Played basketball before that at Wake Forest University. So everybody knew Billy Packer in North Carolina. But the company that he was a spokesperson for was not the best one for the consumer. They were sticking with high interest mortgage rates, refinancing, cash out, all the things that people that in the lower to mid income fall into and never get out of that because they're always borrowing money at high rates to have that immediate gratification, I call it, immediate money, but it's going to cost them a lot of money down the road. But I did that for about 4 years because it's good money for me. I had an RX-7 convertible right out of college. Hey, that was a 1992 RX-7 convertible. The last year, Mazda made the RX-7 convertible style like that, and I thought it was the man. It was only $29,000 for that car back then, by the way. And
I'm a car guy.
Which is crazy.
I know that car.
$29,000.
I know that. Rotary engine.
Oh, beautiful car. White with a black top. I cruised the campus. I stayed in Chapel Hill till 1996. So I'd go up and down Franklin Street. That's the main street. And let the girls look at me, play my music loud. House of Pain, I'd play on my House of Pain still has that Jump Up, that song they played before all the athletic events. That's what I'd be jamming in 1992 down Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. So having a good life, having fun, just, anything a 25-year-old or whatever would be doing. But I said, I got to do something different. I got to do something where I feel like I'm helping people. So I got my insurance license. I remember Mom was a school teacher and Dad was a college professor. And they would always talk about, Mom would always get these little things at school, notifications that she could save in a 403B program. So I just remember that. There was no internet back then. So I had to research. I had to go to the library, look up what a 403B program was.
You didn't have ChatGPT?
No, it's nothing. And if you wanted to go somewhere, you didn't have any cell phone, so you had to print directions out by hand, like going through a map or circling a map or unfolding the map. There was no computer program on maps back then. There was no computers really back then. Not like we do nowadays. There were computers, but they didn't do what they do these days. Not even the same
AOL
thing.
didn't send the CDs out yet.
No. So, in other words, if you wanted the information on the federal 403B program, you had to contact me. So I designed a program where I'd go to the schools and I would stuff the teacher's box with a postage paid card saying, it's now time for it's a federal enrollment period, time to enroll in your federal 403B tax shelter program. And so it was a very simple kind of thing. If you want to find out more, the rep will be at the school next 3 days next week. Sign up if you wanted somebody to come see you about it. So it was a postage paid thing. So I'd stuff the boxes at school, about 50 boxes per school, just little schools, rural North Carolina. Just go out to the country, not the city. And I would get, and nobody believes me to this day, about 90% return. 90% return. So if I put out 50 or if I put out 100, 90 would come back. It's crazy. And some of them
that's insane.
Some of them were not.
They call
really
that the response rate, right?
Yeah.
The response rate. Now, what's the good one today? One.
Well, I guess you're lucky at 0.0. Well, it depends on how good the direct mail is. I think direct mail may be better these days since no one gets it anymore.
Yeah. The actual mailbox is the least noisy.
That's right.
As opposed to the email and the text message and stuff.
That's right.
So, what's so great? Just to stop you just 1 second, and I want you to keep going. Is that I hear I'm 39, right? I'll be 39 next month. I'm 38 right now. We're so 20 years apart. But the thing that as a student, as you are, as I am, to me, nothing is new. The medium shifts.
Yep.
And when the thing that and that's why I want to have these conversations like Phil and you, and it's just because the reason, vibe attracts your tribe. The reason you and I'm realizing we're so connected is because we're both just, kind of marketers for a purpose. We believe that sales profession at the professional level is a noble pursuit because we can really deliver value to people. And if we can't, we'll point them in a better direction. In addition to that, what I was really hearing, but I think that's what informs how you get the 90% response rate and communicate effectively through different mediums. In that moment, it was direct mail, it was a postcard, but physically placed in the box by Coach, I think at the time, right?
Yep.
And a 90% response rate. The reason what connects us is because I hear that data point and I realize, yeah, well, I mean, I'm working on campaigns over here right now in the digital, and we're optimizing even with some special, meta stuff right now that, we're working through, but many companies are actually dying because of it, but we're actually starting to flourish because we've seen this before. This too shall pass. I've been in digital marketing since 2011. And in the digital space, it's kind of like the back, what you're talking about in your story with the mail space, and then where
Yep.
you evolve from there over the past couple decades. And so, but I hear 90% response, and I'm like, I know how crazy that is because
Yes.
I'm worried about, people today on like a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad. You're actually starting to be in KPI and having a viable campaign at a 1% click-through rate. And when you're at 1% click-through rate, there's an opportunity. I have a webinar that I kind of teach this to kind of agents so they understand how this stuff all works, right? And the thing is the average person, if they can get into 1% click-through, and it's not even average, if the rest of your metrics in your funnel, right, and you're going to start talking about this, I'm sure, 90%, and how many meetings did you get, and all these other metrics, right? Because marketing is the same. Nothing is new. Principles. Success leaves clues, so does failure. But if you look for the right clues, you will find success if you have the faith and just keep optimizing for all those breakpoints in your process and sequence. Because remember, you have a noble pursuit. Money earned ethically is a byproduct of value creation. I know that. I learned that from Joe Polish, who's a dear friend of Chris Voss. And Joe said that, and I talk about that. And so when I accidentally got into sales and at Apple, I didn't know I was hired for a sales role. And then I became a corporate sales trainer to 500 plus sales associates in my time there. And the thing is, I realized I was like, oh, I believe in this product. And they taught me this one principle that has informed my entire sales journey. And then I'm going to throw it back to you. And that is, if there's no problem to solve, there's nothing to present. And if that belief, just take care of people, you said, I got my insurance license because I just wanted to have more, do more, and help more people.
Yeah.
And isn't that interesting? The people who have this long-term success in this industry, like yourself, is that they have this love of service of people, and they believe to sell is to serve, to sell is to solve. What problem do I solve? Do you have the problem I solve? You have this account, this 403B, it's a tax deferred. You can like enhance and actually be able to retire when you want, how you want, the life you want, the one you're expecting if you plan ahead and do it properly. And this little postcard right here is the doorway to that opportunity. Can I serve you in that way? And so I hear that 90%, and man, am I excited. Tell me more.
Yeah. Now, I fast forwarded a little bit because I have PTSD from my original career in insurance. So I'm telling you about what happened in January of 1993, but I got my license in July of 1992. So what did I do in that little time period there where I almost left the business? And again, 90% of insurance professionals, if they don't make it a year, they don't make it. So if you make it a year, you have a good chance of survival. I worked for a company called American Income Life. That was my very first insurance license job.
I'm a student. I've heard that story from a lot of people in your position now because you're going to tell me about it. But I bet it was a bit of a grind.
It was. It was dealing with union members, number one. And in North Carolina, there aren't many union members. So I had to travel all the way to Charlotte and Greensboro from Raleigh, and on the other side of Greensboro into Virginia. So I would put between 1,000 and 3,000 miles a week on my car. And we got these mail-back postcards that people had sent back, but it had writing all over them. Sometimes they've been crossed out, sometimes erased, sometimes 3 or 4 different kind of writings. So these were overworked leads that they had from a long time ago. They weren't new. And it was about the hour power, they called it. So with 1 hour of their salary, you would give them an accident policy, a small life policy, and a little disability policy. And for 1 hour of their salary per week. But I've started figuring out I can't make any money doing this. So what I would do instead is just sell them a nice life insurance policy. If I
Which any of the good guys did, because I have a friend who's like close to my age, and he got his insurance license probably about 10 years ago, and he worked for AIL. So
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
But
So
it was in all these rural areas and the
yes,
same story. And there
same
was a
thing.
document. It was
Oh
in
yeah.
home sales, and he was a referral monster.
Yep.
And he realized it was that permanent insurance on the back end that could actually make a business while serving people.
Yes.
Suitability, best interest. We were doing it then. The right people still do it now. They call it something different. The laws change, but the people who sustain this industry do right by people.
Yeah, and it made a lot of sense. The problem was it was hard to sell. It's hard to find people, but what they did made a lot of sense. And that was what I experienced right away in my insurance career. I experienced why insurance was powerful because I signed up a truck driver and I talked him into putting his children on there. He had just had a brand new son and he had a daughter who was 2. Child rider, real cheap to put the children on there. And his infant son passed away after I'd signed him up. So I delivered a $5,000 check to him. And I remember him and his wife crying in front of me because they didn't know how they were going to pay for the funeral. Now the funeral was paid for. Back then, we talk about 1992, you could do a nice funeral for $5,000. You can't do it today, but back then you could. So that was pretty powerful to actually, I delivered the check.
Yeah.
And the reason why they wanted us to deliver the check, I didn't do this, but the reason why they wanted us to is to upsell them something else, right? But I basically said, use this for your son's
This
funeral.
is the story that will inform my conviction and belief with every household person that I ever talk to for the rest of my life in this industry until Coach Pete finds what his real career is.
Yeah. So again, it was sad, and I was happy and sad at the same time. I was sad that the son had died, but they were so overjoyed because I had to talk him into add. They almost didn't want. It was only another like $3 a month to add the kids, but that was a sale I had to make. I had to talk him into it because I believed in what I was selling, and there you go. I mean, I delivered a death check, not 2. I didn't want to ever have to deliver that, but I did. So I just got tired of driving all around. But when you here's one good thing about having a job where you have to drive to people's houses all the time. Number one, they can never say the information's not there because they have it in the back room. I waited at the kitchen table more times than not for them to go down into the bedroom and dig up their current life insurance policies or whatever else. But number two is you have a lot of time to think. Windshield time, I call it. And so rather than jamming to music all the time, I would have back then I had the actual cassette tape, books on tape kind of thing. So I'll listen to that, sales training.
I'm not that I'm not that old, I'm not that young. I'm on the later end of the millennials, but I think one of the things that connects me more to people that I look up to like yourself is because I when I was 18 years old, was actually in Amway. And listen, multi-level marketing and all that stuff certainly exists in the insurance business. And I've never really told this story to too many people because, but there's just this. The reason I say this is because in anything, in any business, all businesses are structured that way. Whatever, there's the house of cards model, and then there's the real way to do it in any business, right? But also in such a large organization as Amway, this is true in the insurance industry too. For different organizations, we don't play that game, but certainly there's a lot of people out there doing it. Recruiting and all this other stuff, and just this the multi-level nature of it. And the reason why I bring this up in the moment of what you just shared, because I think Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump actually wrote a book to this effect. Is if you're in the right organization, surrounded by the right people, it is the greatest personal development program you could ever be a part of. And at the time, I was buying, I had cassettes, then I was buying CDs, and I was listening to not people in the organization, but the greats of maybe some of the people you're about to talk about on the cassettes, the Les Browns and the Brian Tracy's, and certainly I've a mentor of mine from afar for years, for decades since that time to this day. My brother spent personal time very very upfront and close with him. He's Tony Robbins, right? Unleash the Power Within, Date with Destiny, and, Success Leaves Clues. And so it's not surprising that you use that windshield time like I did back then, just a few years later, to fill your mind and to develop yourself, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, because if not, it's wasted time. And so what I used to do then, it was a Nightingale series. They had a
gradual realization of a worthy ideal, the definition of success.
It's success. So if you want to be more successful, you can do that. If you don't, you can sit around and say, well, I'm never going to do there because that's not fair, or life's cheating me, or whatever. But you can make your own steps to put yourself in the lead. And so listening to these books on tape, the one I remember the most was Hardball Selling, Selling Soft, Hard. Selling soft hardly or something like that. It was
I'm
like,
looking that up.
yeah.
I'm looking that up when we're done.
Sorry. Selling hard softly. That's what it was. What is selling?
How I raised myself
Look
from
at me, Thomas.
success
Selling
and failure and
softly,
selling.
hardly. Yeah, but it was a really good. Again, if you believe in what you're selling, then you need to make sure that everybody else gets it too. I mean, you got to be passionate and believe in what your product is. And so I did, and I always have, and I can't sell something I don't believe in. And you can tell somebody who you're talking to who's trying to sell you something they really don't believe in because when you ask them a couple questions, they're basically done answering because they don't have any answers after that.
Yeah, I say, and I've learned this from others, and I'll give them credit in just a second. Sales is the transference of belief. And the breakthrough that I have, actually, he's an insurance guy. Most people don't even know this, that he's an insurance guy. And he's so wealthy because of insurance, because he believed it too, everything we're talking about right now. And this is Ed Milet, right? Ed Milet, he said sales is the transference of belief. And then later on, I've had the opportunity to see him speak, and it was one of the most impactful things I've ever been a part of. He had everybody in the room of 5,000 laughing and crying, men and women right next to you for all the right reasons, emotional laughter from tears, tears from emotion and passion. And no wonder when you hear a guy speak like that, and then you hear this principle that I learned from him and so many others. Maybe he got it from someone else, but I credit Ed, and he says sales is a transference of belief. And more recently, a few years ago, I heard an evolution of this idea, which you were just speaking to. And I talk about this all the time with the people that I have the opportunity to coach and mentor in the version of this industry that I drive, different than yours. And that is that it's not about making them believe. It's about them seeing how much you believe.
Passion. Yeah, how passionate you are, right?
The conviction is what
passion.
Closes
yes.
your conviction that if you were on their side of the table, making the decision with them, if you had that enough authentic trust and respect, that they would say, well, if you think it's right, then I should do this. And to get there, you have to be long-term. It's not about the quick sale. And that's why when I learned that was real selling, to earn, money earned ethically is a byproduct of value creation. I learned that from to sell is to solve. I'm putting this all together and all my learnings and maybe some of the cassettes you've been doing. And so I need some of the books that you're talking about. I'll go back and buy some of those old programs. I love that stuff. That bookshelf right there isn't, to impress people. It's to let them know, like, if you're learning from me, these are everything that I've learned from, and these books that I have on my desk, and I make the videos about. One there, it's called Go for No. Another one is Exactly What to Say. Early on, there was a book that I taught people. It was called How to Make People Like You in 90 Seconds or Less. And I learned, I read that book at Apple because it's like, how can I let them know that I'm not here to sell them something? So that how can I communicate this energy, this consistency, this rapport, such that, because I was face-to-face selling then, right? How do I do it in such a way so that they would feel more quickly that if there's no problem to solve, there's nothing to present, not just for my words alone, but maybe how, and that was the first time I actually learned mirroring. And then later on, I heard it mirroring from Chris's point of view in language, and that it took me to another level. But it was physical mirroring, it was body position, it was tone, it was energy, of that heart-centered position of saying, if there's no problem to solve, there's nothing to present. And so, man, the internet's big. I'm going to find that book.
Well, your sales missiles won't get through their defense systems if the defense system is up at full alert. So what you really need to do is sort of like a football game. The best blitzes are the ones the offense doesn't know is coming. So they let their guard down. So if you could get someone to let their guard down, maybe they'll listen to what you're saying is what I'm saying, instead of with their arms crossed saying, I don't care what he's saying, he's trying to sell me something. And so then to go between credibility and authority, I mean, credibility is being on the radio. Authority is being on there a long time, and people trust in what you say, and you have a really good show. Dave Ramsey's a good example of that. He's credible when people met in his domain, which millions of people love Dave. It's not just what he says is credible, but what he says they do. That means authority. They don't argue with Dave. They don't try to Google what Dave says because Dave said it. They don't need to Google it anymore. That's when you get authority. And authority is tough to get to. It takes a long time to get authority. Tony Robbins has it. Well, Robert Kiyosaki, we had him on the show years ago. It was a 12-minute interview. He spent 5 of those minutes laughing at his own jokes.
Financial education.
He spent 5 minutes laughing at his own jokes, though.
Yeah.
He would tell a joke and then laugh for like 30 seconds. It was this Thomas. We still have that interview somewhere, don't we? Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, but great guy, entertaining, and his people that loved him. People that didn't. That's when you know you're really doing something, because you're going to have passionate enemies, just like you have passionate fans, even if you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just brought him up, Dave. Like, such respect. I'm in Nashville. Dave's down the street.
I know, right down the street.
You know, and I say this to people, insurance agent, because what does Dave say? Dave says, buy term, invest the difference. And I teach insurance agents who want to actually elevate into being a career professional in this industry. I say, Dave's not wrong.
No.
For the people who don't know what they're doing, for the people who think that, you know, I have it on my desk here. I'm going to put it up in front of the camera because I tell this story all the time. I said, there's so many people out there selling, you know, Index Universal Life. It's the Swiss Army knife. It's the Swiss Army knife that's going to do everything for you all the time. Let me tell you about the features and the living benefits.
Oh, yeah.
And then Dave is like, permanent life insurance is garbage. And he's not wrong most of the time for how most people sell it in this industry. Forgive me a sec. I'm a bit passionate about this.
Well,
because I respect Dave. Look at what he's built. You go drive down the highway, see the building, he owns it cash.
Paid cash for it.
He serves people. I got family members that, you know, did it, changed their lives, did it to a fault release, and just paid $100,000 cash for their pool in their backyard.
There you go.
Right? And so Dave's not wrong. You know, and the sign of intelligence, though, is the ability for somebody to hold two seemingly opposing ideas at the same time. And so Dave can be right, and so can we.
Yeah, well, buy term and invest the rest works every time as long as you do it like it's supposed to be done. But the problem with buy term and invest the rest is people buy term and forget to invest the rest. So then when the term expires, the money they were supposed to have invested that would pay for a new policy is not there anymore, or to self-fund yourself. So again, it only works.
Or have a retirement or all the other things that you forgot to plan for because you now own your house outright and you'd have to sell it to liquidate it so that you could have income to. And I'm not saying that happens for all Dave's people. Anybody who goes all in on anything can make it work. It's about you know this. It's not about in anything that you do your ability to find the one thing that works. Well, it's your ability. You know, opportunity is abundant. You can succeed in any way, in anything. It's your ability to focus and be committed to what's in front of you, whether it's in your personal finances, as Dave teaches, whether it's in this industry of being in sales and having the noble pursuit and as a sales professional in insurance at whatever level. Is it term? Great. Is it advanced markets and insurance, you know, income planning with insurance products? Great. Are you an AU? Great. There's nothing wrong with anything. This is America. It's huge. You know, the assets are ridiculous, you know, 42 trillion and qualified's going to transfer probably. And maybe it's bigger now in the next 2 decades. Like there's just so much abundance if you could just focus on what your calling is. And I got Coach here on the line. And the thing about Coach is that he's one of the most successful and humble guys I've met in this industry. And yet he still doesn't feel like he's figured it out yet. What can you learn from that?
Yeah. When you talk about, you know, anyone could do it themselves, like the do-it-yourself model. Like we could change our own oil, Jim, but the reason why we don't do that, number one, I don't know if you can dispose of your oil when you take it out of the car anywhere legally. I don't know what you do with that used oil. I mean,
when my first car, 1990, I changed my oil, you know, 1992 40SX, I put a different motor in, had a little fun. It was like $5,000 and I changed the oil. But at this point, Jiffy Lube, let's go. Yeah, thank you.
Well, anyone can drain their own oil. The secret is to make sure you fill it back up. And that's happened in the past where people drained oil and forget to put it, or forget to put or tighten the screw or the plug that was draining the oil. So again, that's why you pay the professionals. So you can blame somebody if it doesn't go wrong. Yeah. If you don't change the filter, what good is it to change the oil? Right. So
what's the dipsticks do?
That's become a nickname. So Chet Holmes is one of the guys I used to read.
Ultimate Sales Machine.
Yes. I was watching his infomercial.
Died too early.
Yes. I don't know how he was really young, wasn't he?
He was a business partner, Tony, in Business Mastery and you know, Pig-Headed Discipline, Ultimate Sales Machine. You know, I studied him as well. And it's just about, I learned the relentlessness. And, you know, the biggest thing that I took away from Business Mastery when Chet Holmes was still doing it with Tony, honestly, it wasn't the sales piece, although I learned that too. But the thing that I continue to repeat today, having an operations and sales and marketing and customer support at Juicebox of over 42 people, and then having another 20 across the other businesses that we run. So, you know, being a younger guy, having a staff of over 60 people driving our mission and vision, the thing that I learned from Chet from that moment was was how he taught the idea of training, and until it becomes to the point of like a cliche, is like that's when the training and retention has begun.
Yeah.
And this principle that came up in our organization from that moment, I call it being a flag waver. And the metaphor, and I have this flag right next to me, it's our juice box flag if you're watching us on video, and maybe go to my YouTube channel and check it out. But the thing is, I teach my team, of flag wavers. I say, you ever been to a sports game and you're sitting next to a diehard fan and he's just cheering for everything, and he waves it so much that by the halftime you grab the flag from him, you say, sit down, I'm tired of it, I got it from here. Because and that's what that story, that's not how he told it, that's how I received it, and that's how I tell it to my team of nearly 60 people now, is because I say, we all listen, to reach our mission and vision. It's big. You and I have talked about it. We don't need to talk about it here today. We'll continue to talk about it in a few weeks when I see you in another part of the world. But the thing is, I tell my team, I say, I'm going to wave this flag so much to you that when you grab it from me, you'll be a flag waver on this mission. And for us, our mission is to help 1,000 agents transform through world-class training, technology, and marketing, from just agents to virtual retirement income professionals. That's my mission at Juicebox. And then that extends there, because people say, well, you're kind of like my IMO. Are you an IMO? They said they were going to train me. They said they were going to help me with proprietary marketing. They said they said all that, but then I found you, and they're not marketing. They're not. You're training me, and this was early in my journey, Coach. It was early in my journey. I was just a marketer at that time. I left, working on campaigns for Oracle and Ferrari with one of my business partners at the time, still a dear friend, lives down the street here with 3 kids in Nashville. He's incredibly successful, and I learned a lot from him, from creative design, working in the big business world. Now I'm in this moment where we were just a marketer helping people sell more index universal life policy for the purpose of tax-free wealth accumulation. What does that mean? Properly structured for the purpose of tax-free wealth accumulation. I got plenty of stuff on my YouTube channel. If you're thinking about, what do you mean by that, Jim? You could go check that out if you're an agent listening to this. But the thing is, they would start saying to me, well, actually, I'll take one step back. The first question I got was, Jim, if you're so good at this, why don't you do it yourself? I said, okay. I literally 6 weeks later, I was licensed, on the phone, selling. Sorry, not phone. We were Zooming at this point, because that's what we always did.
Right.
With Mike Milligan. At the time, Mike is incredible. I'll do a podcast with him if you want to hear his numbers and his journey. He started as a client in 2020, and now he's still a client, and doing crazy business. Wait for his episode to
Mike's
publish.
a great guy too. My mom taught him 7th grade.
Yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah.
And then we got connected at your office.
I didn't even know him. I didn't know him until like a year or two ago, but he said, your mom taught me 7th grade. It's pretty funny. Hometown guy.
Yeah. And now what part of North Carolina was that?
Laurinburg. Laurinburg. We call it the Burg.
The Burg, as you
small
would.
Town in North Carolina, in Scotland County. So our mascot in high school was the Fighting Scot. So they wore kilts. The mascot did. So in North Carolina, you don't really picture a lot of Scottish people there, but there was a lot of Scottish people in that one part.
It's wild. They asked me. They asked me if she's a good dude. I got licensed. I got on. We Mike, me, Seth, who we just started the call earlier talking about, where it's Steve Harvey, and he was just on the thing. Used to sell tea. Now he's writing $1.6 million months, and sometimes now it's compounding, and now it's like $1 million weeks, and doing it all virtual in 3 years.
It's amazing.
And the thing is, that was what I did in the beginning. I said, I'm success leaves clues. Serving people, selling is to solve. Money or ethics is a byproduct of value creation. Yeah, I believe in these products. I've had a whole life insurance product since I was 27.
There you go.
Structured for accumulation, because someone taught me, you're an entrepreneur. You swing for the fences over there. Get this stable accumulation for this thing over here. And so I believed in it.
Proper balance. Got to have proper balance.
I have it.
Yep.
I have it. And so So I said, yeah, game on. So I got licensed, got on with Mike, and we started doing it. I issued millions of dollars, but from the first client that I wrote, a $600,000 virtual annuity for, and the checks that came in the mail to fund the policy to the carriers that we're trusting to protect this person's retirement. The thing is, I still have it. It's a Post-it note, and it said, Mike and Jim, thank you so much for helping us and taking care of us. And the thing is like, it goes back to your story early on, right? It's like when you do this right and you have this long-term outlook, I was like, now I was the guy, I was like, okay, you can model me. I'm not just teaching from sales principles, success and principles in the practice and anything. It works anywhere if you believe in it and you want to serve people, right? Now I'm the guy doing it exactly how, and then that's what started and then the next question that I got asked was, back to what I was just going into was like, well, I mean, are you just on, can you be my IMO? And I'm like, what is that? What do you mean?
Yeah.
And then, one thing led to the next, and now, some clients, kind of work with us in that way because, our juice box clients kind of work with us, more closely because they're like, I want to be a virtual retirement income professional. I just want to do it the way you guys do it. I want to be home with my family. I was just on the phone with Kevin and his family because he just hit this incredible milestone. I just want to go celebrate him. And you can go to my YouTube channel and literally he just said, when he was just doing it the other way, working in those big multi-levels in this industry, he nearly went bankrupt buying leads.
Yeah.
And now he's the guy. I'll just leave it at that. Go watch the video. I'll just leave it at that. And that's why I do what I do because I realize, they say, and maybe you can shed some light on this, being coach, right? Sometimes they say those who can't do, teach. And I would just elevate some of those things. I say, those who believe that the only missing link was having a teacher who can do and can transfer the knowledge to you for your circumstance so that you can get what you want from this industry. They shouldn't be in the trenches just selling. They should be transferring and teaching. And that's actually what started my relationship with Mike. I said, Mike, you're incredible. My mentor at Apple, he told me, he said, Jim, you got learning agility. What's that? Is that, man, once you learn it, you do it, you teach it, you transfer it, because teaching is to learn twice. And I'm a lifelong hungry learner. It's one of my core values for my company on a wall. We are hungry learners, but we implement. Learning's on the other side of doing. You can't think your way across the bridge.
Yeah,
you can't just consume all the information and say, okay, I got it. Now what? No, you should have started taking action the first step. That's why we teach on a success path now, and we give you the minimum effective dose so that people in this virtual sales process who want to shift from just selling insurance to shift to selling something else that they feel more purpose in, shift to becoming a virtual retirement income professional and doing retirement planning, but using principal protection and these types of things that you know so well. When we help people do that, we say you need just in time learning, not just in case. Because if you fill your mind with too much garbage, the greatest predictor of your failure will be overwhelm. That will lead you to fear and doubt and lead you to getting stuck. And then you will stand still and then you'll stay silent. You won't say anything and you'll wither away and not knowing that we were here the whole time if you just stayed focused. So that's why, I'm sorry for that tangent. I'm inspired because of your story. So if you could take it back for a sec and to the transition between, what was it, 92, 93 and the car.
Yeah. So I already have my insurance license, but I didn't feel like I was being useful enough to myself and my client. I wasn't seeing enough people really because we were basically it's cold calling, even though I had leads. The cards were overworked. If you ever seen Glenn Ross, I didn't have the good leads. So anyway, I said, there's got to be a better way. That's when I, spending that time in the windshield of the car, designed the system to work with teachers with the postcard that I designed. And it went well for years until right around 1997, where some of my teachers started to retire, like 5 years in. And so I had to get more advanced planning to learn what to do next, from the accumulation phase to the distribution phase. And so when I started doing that, let me tell you back in 1993, one of the first schools I went into, it was enrollment period. So I went to introduce myself to the principal because I was coming to talk to a bunch of teachers. So I was going to meet them in the auditorium after school because so many people sent the cards back. There's no way I could physically meet with 50 teachers in a couple weeks. So I said, let's meet in a group setting. And so he said, yeah, let me introduce, let me tell you when you're here, and I'll have them all meet in the auditorium. He got on a loudspeaker. He said, hey, everybody, our financial planner here, Pete, Coach Pete. We're going to call him Coach Pete as our financial coach because he couldn't pronounce my last name. So that's where Coach Pete came from. So because the principals are always used to dealing with coaches. So he said, Coach Pete's here, and that name stuck forever. That was like shooting fish in a barrel back in the day, the 403B. It was so easy compared to what I'd been going through with the life insurance industry. So went really well. Violence in school happened though, and then it got harder and harder to get into the school with those kind of things.
Hardened facilities.
Copycats started showing up. One time I've stuffed this. I call it stuffing the boxes. I went to school and stuffed boxes, and a couple days later, I had two boxes show up to the post office. It was a post office box, so I'd always go to the mailman and get my cards. He said, "This is strange." He said, "We got to bill you for this, but somebody has taped your card on this very heavy box." And we have two of them. So it was my postage paid meter, but they taped it on a box, and inside the box they had 2 bricks. So they knew that I had to pay per pound. So they were, it had to be another insurance guy or something like that, right?
Wow.
Or somebody who didn't like me.
Competition was real.
Yeah, it started coming in. And just like everything, if you're a pioneer, you get there and then all the copycats come. Just like look at Amazon.
Deal with that digitally. We deal with it digitally.
Yeah. So anytime you see like a product and it's popular, you go on Amazon and there's 50,000 other products that are just like that almost, but they're cheaper. They're copycats. And that's happened to me.
A lesson here. I need to hear it from you because we deal with it so much because, the amount of marketing people who literally copy and paste what we do and then make it harder because they do it badly, but use all of our words, right? And sell against all our words. And then the Facebook, algorithms for ad approvals and all these things start to mess with. It's a combination. We're experts. I have a marketing team on the digital side of 7 people. This is all they do every single day, and I, lead that and have some great leaders too. But I hear you say that, and it's like, it goes back to that principle. It's like nothing is new. The medium shifts, right? And it's just, it's wild. And so the lesson that I'm looking for when you said that, it's like innovate or die, but also the people who are the pioneer, as you called it, are just like, man, it's kind of like when I was in other parts of sales. I worked for Apple. I did other things. I always like being the premium person. And the reason I like being the premium person is because when I can differentiate on a unique value proposition, right, I'll never lose you on price. No one could ever come beat me up. And so what I imagine, what I'm hearing, and I would love to hear it from your point of view with your experience and wisdom, is that you got copied and then you said, well, I created this one. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again because you are the pioneer. But what else is true?
Yeah. And just to give you a little bit of inside baseball going back a little bit, by 1995, I'd already developed the system. As you know, 1993, I perfected it right at the beginning of the year. Easy to get the leads for me. And then I developed a very easy sales system because the 403B was basically like a 401k. They would put in $100 a month and it would only cost them $75 because it came out pre-tax, just like a 401k. Right. And so my closing line was, everybody wants to do this. The hardest part is trying to figure out how much to start with. I said, you can always change. So let's start with what numbers you're comfortable with. And I've designed a sheet that had different numbers on it. 50. If they put 50 in, it would cost them like $40 out of their take-home pay.
And this is before like red, yellow, green.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. This is just all like a sheet I printed out and had to go find a photocopy machine because our printers at home didn't do that back in the day, right? So anyway, I designed it so perfectly. And people, like when I did that presentation there were like 40 people to see Coach Pete, that auditorium, when the principal introduced me as Coach Pete. And 38 of them decided to start that day. It was a 2-page app. 2-page for the insurance company for the annuity, and 1 page for the payroll deduction form where you had to go take it down to the payroll office, the money would come out. So I've sold 38 people, and the average sale that day was $300 a month. So pretty good one. Yeah. And the funny thing I saw back then is the janitors and the cafeteria workers always would put more money away than the teachers because they weren't used to making they were thinking about retirement. They wanted to have a good retirement. I had some of my janitors and cafeteria workers retire.
It's always that case. The hardworking, head down, let me take care of this. The tradesmen, they're the ones that actually wake up grinding after, they're 55, 60, maybe back then. I wonder how the age you've seen shift. And they're just like, well, I have all the money I need. I'm good.
They put as much away as they could because they knew they didn't want to do that forever.
Yeah.
All right. So again, we went to conventions back then too. Those were insurance company trips. And during the trip in '94, I was one of the top 10 people with Conseco, which was an insurance company back then. They bought Great American Reserve and Beneficial Standard. They bought a lot of companies, Jefferson National. But I was one of the top ones. So guys were asking me on the cruise we were on, how'd you do it? Like they always do, right? How you doing it? They're all trying to copy you, but they can't copy. They couldn't copy this because
I mean, I'm new to this game, right?
Yeah.
And my wife on some of those trips that we've been on together and stuff like that. I'm just a new guy. She tells me they ask me those questions. I walk away, and then they keep talking. My wife's still there, but maybe they don't know. And then she tells me later on, she's like, "Was he serious? What did that mean? He does it all virtual?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" And so back then for you, it's like, you're doing what? Huh?
Yeah.
How? And I say this to some other guys when we say virtual, some of the guys we've helped like do $20 million virtually in 2 years they just did 6 figures in term insurance the prior year. And the thing that I said to him recently, after, he did that, I said, if you say that out loud to some of the people that I've met in this industry that do pretty well, they will act as if you just told them you've been to Area 51 and you've seen aliens. And so you experienced that back in that moment too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it worked. So then what I ended up doing is a few of them wanted to do what I did. So I said, well, work with me. So I designed a system where I got a small override, and I basically designed the system to work in their school systems and in their state. So I was by 1997, I had 7 different agents in 6 different states. Small, just a small
coach,
guy.
Coach, but one of the things I just want to stop you just because we were talking about that multi-level thing.
Yep.
And you say, I think that's the difference and why we're connected is because when a lot of people that might watch this at some point, that they're listening to it, the thing that is probably shocking to them about what you just said is there's so many people out there, they're told to recruit these massive downlines.
Yes.
Right. And what you just described, and that's why you're kind of humble about it, is because I think you understand that contrast, as I've seen in my short time in this industry, that you see, you're like, you just said, I just had 7 guys in a couple states working this highly proven system that absolutely crushes it, that just, nobody else has, everyone wants to copy, but it's hard for them until they are able to copy it, kind of thing. Can you speak to that, like that 7 people? Because to me, it's like, I know exactly what you're saying, because this type of business we endeavor to build and build financial service firms, not, recruit these massive downlines, right? It is, when I hear that, I know what that means, but I think most of the people in this industry that kind of want to maybe, some people say turn pro, make a career out of this, go professional. We talk about that in some of our level recognition is to become a pro producer, and make a career, become a professional, virtual retirement income professional. It's not about recruiting 100 people to hopefully 3 do it, because you're trying to sell people on a dream that you already have. And what you did is you proved the model, and then you said, I'm going to keep doing this. You want to do it with me? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't charging anything, so it was costing me money to help them. And I believe in quality over quantity. I always have, always will. Because number one, if you have a whole bunch of people out there supposedly saying your message, if they're not, they can get you in trouble. So you need to be able to monitor and keep them updated and keep them getting better, because if they don't get better, they're going to leave. Like always, anything in life. I don't blame them. I would too. So it was, I had 5 guys and 2 gals. I say guys. This is always, that's how I grew up. This guys means everybody, but it was 2 gals did really well with teachers, because about 80 to 90% of teachers are women. So they're more confident with each other. So it went really well. Built it up to over $1 million of residual income for me. The best thing about that 403B annuity was my commission the first year was 15%. The commission the years 2 through 20 was about 8%. So as long as I kept putting money in, I made residual income.
Payroll
residual
deduction?
income's the way to go. What's that?
Payroll deduction?
Payroll deduction. So, out of sight, out of mind, building, and many people would call
truly
me.
serving them, because you set up, one of the things that I teach people all the time, and maybe you say it in a different way, is you got to automate your willpower.
Yeah.
You got to remove willpower. Just automate the discipline. Just get rid of it. Right. And so if you choose the right amount that is sustainable, that you can participate in Albert Einstein's 8th wonder of the world, right?
Compound interest.
Compounding.
Yep.
And so if you could just do that, you can automate your willpower and just say, and because here's the thing, because you're doing it from a place of service and many people aren't really taught what professionalism is in this industry. Here's the thing that I realize, and I constantly tell people, it's like, stop going for the bigger case, go for the sustainable value proposition that will get them to where they need to be with more certainty. Nothing's guaranteed other than protection, but get them to where they need to be. Yep. Rather than where you need to be in your interest right now. And I find that ignorance drives incentives. It's driven by incentives in this industry.
That's a good point. It is.
And so when people come across people like you, and that's why I just want to introduce my community to you and realize, man, success leaves clues, is that when you just do right by people and you just say, what's sustainable? And you build a durable business that you didn't sell the dream and deliver the nightmare, that you actually have a desire to connect with them next year on an annual review and say, here's what we can do now. Look, it's actually going the way we talked about. You didn't oversell. And most people just didn't know any better. That's what I found in this industry, in all these organizations and stuff. I don't blame anybody. I just say incentives perpetuate ignorance.
I was proud of myself for the annual review because the interest rate, there was fixed annuity rate. So there were no indexed annuities. So we were getting 6, 7, 8% a year. Yeah. So I'd meet with them and say, here's your balance now. And everybody would want it. Not everybody. Most people would want to increase the amount they were putting in. Right. So then I'd make money on that and also get my renewal. And then they would give me some referrals because they talk, they brag, and they're teachers.
Yeah, because you said the first meeting, if you want to build a business on referrals, be good for your word. But, like I said, a lot of people.
Don't run from your clients. Don't run from your clients. And so if you're doing the right thing, you never have to run from your clients.
Exactly. And Coach, can you attest this with your experience and what you've seen? Do you agree with that? Like that idea that the incentives of maybe somebody above you somewhere else in the organization or whatever, maybe they don't even know. It's just this cascade waterfall that it just keeps people ignorant because they don't even know what it means to act in best interest, or to act with a fiduciary obligation. And so they just say, oh, the illustration says this, it must be true.
Yeah, that's what happens too. People just fall in line. They don't even know why they're falling in line.
Yes.
And so in my life, I've probably made 10 big mistakes, or 10. I've got screwed over about 10 times. But the insurance industry, unfortunately, has about 3 of them. So here we come up to the part where I got screwed for the first time in my professional life. I didn't know enough when I signed up for the 403B companies that I represented, and I had an upline, and the upline guy basically took my sales force away and my residuals and kept them for himself.
You didn't own your book of business.
I didn't own my book of business because I had a guy above me, so he would pay me. The money would come in, and I'd have to wait for him to give me a check for my commissions.
Back then, there's no documentation that was transparent, that made it clear, that educated you, that say, I got nothing to hide. It was just like, hey, doing great, keep going.
Yeah, so that's $1 million back then. In 1998, I lost $1 million of annual recurring income because he stole all my business. So, and took my advisors away, gave him 2 points higher. I gave him 10, he gave him 12, right? But I was doing all the marketing. I was paying for everything. So now he gave them 12, but they had to do everything. All of them were out of business within like 3 months.
Yeah, you know what I say? I call that, and we talk to people, and I'm just new, but I try to educate people of like what I've learned from the legacy of this industry. I said there's 2 ways that you produce. You have people that can work with you to drive your production, or you're going to find people once somebody else drove it, they're going to buy your production, and they're going to dangle this thing and that thing, and then you wake up a couple years later and you're like, who am I and what am I doing?
So they always think they can do better than you, and then they try to do it and they can't. That's what happened. That's what I've seen in my life with 2 of the other mistakes.
And Coach, I bet you believe what I believe in this is that, and if you can, respect, go do it. And I mean that with all sincerity and reverence, in that if I am not that useful to you anymore, then I am humbled in that I've served you to the point I can be free. You know what I mean? And so, and that right there, that's why you and I, your vibe attracts your tribe. You and I, are I guess are connected in this way. And I've is because, I think that's a wild perspective when you actually say it out loud to somebody.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey man, I guess, I have helped you. I think I continue to help you, but we don't do this, trade the point. I mean, I put stuff on my YouTube channel about this all the time, try to educate people about this industry, is because I say, hey, listen, like, you're at this comp level, a percentage of what though?
Yeah.
It's just math. Can I just show you
100%
some
of
math?
nothing, still nothing, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if you,
Whatever.
the people that buy your production, you're okay. And I often say that it leads to what I call compensation blindness. Oh, there's a 5-year product that you get what on? And do you know, have you heard of this company? Do you know what their credit rating is? Do you know how that works? They're blinding you with compensation. You haven't even looked at the product. You don't know how it
Yes.
works.
So
You
it's
don't know,
advisory. You put
it's like,
yourself into trouble in the future if you recommend
oh yeah,
the
well,
wrong
and that's
thing.
why you said 90%, like going back to the number,
Yep.
like there's, I think it's now like 92, right? I've seen some stats on that, right? But man, it's 90% back then. Now it's 92. And that's because people burn out because they don't, they make some quick cash. They think it's all their money. And then maybe they're selling final expense or whatever. It's a chargeback and it just puts them in debt and out of business. And that's why that video on my channel from Kevin, because no one stopped enough to say, be transparently. And the reason why is because, and maybe I'm not the first. I came to this conclusion, right? IMO, FMO, the M, marketing organization. But for most people, it's a middleman organization. And you and I can decide whether that one stays in. But the thing is,
yeah, because it's the truth.
But the thing is like, and so one of the things that we say, and my people, it's like, we don't try to close anybody. We have these big IMOs, like try to get on our calendar and see what we're up to. And it's just like, and then we like, dude, if you were transparent, we would have just showed you. But the fact that we asked you a question and you acted like, then we just Google you and you're the marketer at blah, 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 some massive organization. It's like, dude, how about you just be transparent? What games are you playing? I'm not stupid. I may be younger than everybody in this industry, but I'm still almost 40, and I've been in the British Embassy selling construction projects in Hudson Yards on the west side of Manhattan. Like, this ain't my first rodeo here. What are we doing? And my team is here on our mission in service of the people in the industry. And what I teach them to say, because we believe it and we operate, is that we're a hospital for the burn victims.
There you go.
Of the lead vendors out there. Aren't you a lead vendor, Jim? You generate leads? No. Leads are a third of the equation. There's two other things you need to worry about. It's actually a proven sales system to operate in a virtual environment, and accountability and support of somebody who's actually going to turn you into that professional producer. You can earn like one. Points are on the scoreboard in the game of the professionals who play the sport for their profession, and you need to get points on this scoreboard acting in the best interest. And when we do that, you'll earn all the money you ever deserve. And when I work with IMOs and all these different relationships that I've had in the industry, I say, hey, listen, man, I'll never start the conversation with compensation. And the reason why I say that is because I believe I'll always get everything that I deserve. And you'll tell me first. And if somebody else tells me first, I'll ask you. And to be honest, I could, I'm sure you're true. I could move that contract from this aggregator to that aggregator to the, I could do all that and chase 50 basis points. I know you can too. But for me in this industry, I've only been in it for, I don't know, I'm in my third full year. I'm in 2025 is the third full year of doing this. As a, me, what do you want to call me? You want to call me an agency, a boutique IMO, an FMO, whatever name, I don't care. Juice Box Partners. Yep. The thing is, and I could go chase 50 basis points on the production. I could get another 100. I could get another 100. Yeah. I could go play that game. Yep. But man, my vision's too big. This journey's going to be too long that I'm not going to try to change my oil on everything.
Right. Well, it's just frustrating to see your good work put to waste a lot of times from what you've done, like you talk about. But Mom being a teacher, she would always, when I'd go home, and they lived in Fayetteville, so I'd go once a month when I was run through town. I'd stop by for dinner, and Mom would give me a Food Lion. Food Lion's a shopping center here. She'd give me a Food Lion.
I had a Food Lion growing up.
Yeah. This is 1997, 98 now.
She'd say, I had one. I grew up in Tampa, Florida area. We had Food Lions.
In college, I worked at Food Lion. But anyway, Mom would say, here's a bag full of stuff that came the last month at school. So it was like she would give me a bag full of marketing crap that would come now. And a lot of the postcards would be in their mailbox looked exactly like mine. So people were already copying mine. But for the longest time, there was no copycats. So we already see, you know how it is. Everybody runs over here. So I said, I got to do something different. So I said, I started doing, people love me. I love to perform in front of people and talk in front of these groups when I do teachers. Why don't I start doing dinner seminars? So I started doing Ruth Chris, all expensive places. And I figured out that people were coming for the food more there. So I started doing Golden Corrals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'd set up my little show in their private room there, and I'd pay for all the seniors to come in. Back then it was like $12 for a senior discount with the drink, and then I'd have to tip. So it was like $15 or $16 a person.
Slightly less than Ruth Chris then?
Yeah, and they were coming. And I did better in those than I did in the
You got
news
people
press.
who weren't coming for the steak.
That's
I know
right.
where the story's going. Keep going.
And back then, Golden Corral had some really good food. By the way, the chicken was good. The mashed potatoes, the
I remember that macaroni was tasty.
cheese,
It was
and the
tasty.
meatloaf.
It was tasty.
And a banana pudding was to die for back then. So
Yeah.
anyway, did real good. Started getting on the leaderboard on different companies, and guys would hang around me during conventions or whatever we had when we had group events. What do you do? I said, well, come work with me. So I built in 13 states. I built up I had 8 reps there where I'd come in. I'd fly in like Nashville, where you are, and all around the Southeast. I'd fly in. I'd handle all the marketing first. I'd get people to the seminar. Then I'd come in, do the seminar, and leave them with leads. All they had to do is sell them, which worked great until I found out somebody called me. This was 2001. They called saying, I want to talk about an annuity I bought with, let's call him Johnny. Johnny sold me this annuity from the seminar you did, and I pulled it up. I had no record of Johnny selling them an annuity. So Johnny sold on the side. Johnny, because they weren't captive agents. It was an honor system. We were supposed to split half and half on the app. I paid for all the marketing. I paid for everything. I did the seminars for them. They were supposed to put me on there for half so I could make my money back.
Yeah, of course. We have agreements today, but we always say and operate, and maybe this is the same for you, that they're only as good as the people who showed up to sign them in the first place.
Yep. So anyway, and then seminars again, they were good for a while. Then I started getting invitations. When I'd go back to mom and dad's house, mom would show me all the seminar invitations that her and dad would get for a month. It would like real fancy ones to real basic ones. My best return when I did seminars was a yellow postcard from Seminar Crowds. I think it was an organization out Midwest somewhere. It was just a yellow postcard. It was no pictures of people eating dinner, no steaks, no, just the name of the steakhouse or the name of the Golden Corral on there. And they work better than the fancy, glossy wedding-style invitations that cost a whole lot more. It was only like 28 cents a postcard. That included postage to send those out to people, too. Times have changed these days. So 2003, I was doing a seminar in Wilmington, North Carolina at a chop house. I decided to do an expensive one down there, and big mistake again. But it was, had a great crowd. But during the seminar, I was up in the front of the crowd speaking, but during the seminar, there was commotion in the back, a table of 6 where 2 people had got the invitation. They called and asked if they could bring 2 friends with them, 2 guests, when they were the same kind of demographics, so you never say no. But they had decided to light candles on a birthday cake and sing happy birthday during me talking, because they used my seminar at a steakhouse as a birthday dinner. And that was the last seminar I did. That's when the very next day I went down to radio stations here locally. Nobody would give me the time of day. They had no idea. No one's doing radio shows back then. They didn't know how to price them. So I ended up stretching my radius. I went for an hour and 15 minutes southeast of here and went to Pinehurst, Southern Pines area, where a little cinder block radio station, a guy named Steve Adams, the owner and operator and also DJ of that station, gave me an hour spot. And he also promised to be my co-host. And we started kicking butt there. Raleigh found out about me. Now I'm on the biggest station here. I've got 7 hours on a weekend up here, and so that's basically 22 years in a nutshell on radio. So that's how it didn't happen overnight, but it happened because we did a good show. We entertained like Gladiator when Russell Crowe on the Gladiator 1. Are you not entertained? So if you're not entertaining, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. The sales will come after. You got to entertain first, because if they don't like you, if you're sitting there boring, they're not going to listen to you. So you have to make it inviting. We've got people that still call now saying, "I've been listening to you forever. I finally need somebody." And we knew you were going to be the guy we called because we've heard you for years. We knew you're our financial advisor without you even knowing you were our financial advisor. So
you told me building those relationships you didn't know you had,
building that authority up in people you didn't even know you had authority with. So again, it didn't happen overnight. We do radio shows now. Again, everything I've always done in life, I try to help my clients, but also try to help other advisors, because every deal I ever did with advisors, they made more money than I did. But I was helping with the marketing to get them people to talk to. I don't have enough time to see everybody individually. So I'm using my skill and knowledge of what I do to make sure that you can too. So no more commission split stuff, though, because I got screwed too many times on that. What we do is we charge a flat fee to design a weekly radio show for every advisor that we work with. And we have about 100 in our stable right now that we do shows for each week. And we assign them their own co-hosts. They have their very own show. We handle all the music and all the trademarks, so we don't have to worry about you getting sued for trademarks. We handle all the editing. We handle all the show notes to the advisors every single week. All they have to do is show up for 1 hour, 1 week, and they've got a show, and they just listen to the show on the weekends. It is totally turnkey. It's taken all the worry out of marketing and how to generate leads, and it sounds like a really good show. Sounds like a show you'd listen to on the radio instead of some people sitting there in their garage taping some show that sounds horrible.
Right.
So that's what we do.
Yeah,
and we
coach.
do a good job with it. And we
Yeah,
and
no, you
because of
do.
that, we write about
You do.
200 million a
I
year.
talk about this all the time, and I just want to, if we could, in the as we round out the this time together.
Yep.
I'm just, man. There's so much. The story's so big. We'll do it again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll yeah, we'll do it again soon. But here's the thing that I just want to go a bit deeper on what you just said is you have 100 clients, advisors, right? And do you have capacity for more right now?
Oh, we got capacity for about 250.
Got
And
it. Got
so,
it. It's just, and one of the
yep.
things I talk about with because the reason, if you've gotten this far, in hanging out with Coach and I, Coach obviously is so much experience in this industry, so many trials, so many lessons, and man, I look forward to continue the conversation in our friendship, but maybe on a future episode together. The thing that I say with you is like, you built this radio model, kind of like how we built this digital model, right? And one of the things, like, if there's no problems to solve, there's nothing to present. We both serve agents and advisors in different ways, right? And this industry is huge, and we live in this abundance mindset. And so the reason I bring that up is to say there's nothing. Radio is still probably one of the biggest mediums in this industry for people who doing massively big business. Obviously, Coach, I say, he practices what he preaches, and then people pay him to preach what he practices, aka make it click button, easy, simple to have a radio show, right? Do the media buying, help with the media buying, right? As well, right?
Everything, totally turnkey. When I say radio, it's not just radio anymore. It's podcast, digital or audio. It's TV, commercials or shows, long form, short form. I'm just a traditional guy. It was radio to begin with, so I always say radio, but it's everything media.
Clearly, you showed up here today. If you guys are watching this on, he's an embodiment of what he does for other people, and he doesn't just do it as a service provider. Let me just, if you don't know Coach right now, let me just give you a little bit thing without blowing up his spot, because he's a humble guy. Is that, to this day, he still runs his own office in Raleigh, North Carolina, with a few key guys that he has loyalty, that work really hard. And you can correct me. We can cut this out, whatever, if you want. But doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year off a radio,
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Right.
Making money out of air,
and then showing other people how to make it turnkey simple.
Yeah, and we have some advisors who use our show, and then we put their phone number in there. So and then we build commercials with their voice. But most of the advisors like to hear themselves on there all show long, so then they can do that. So we have different kind of models for them. If you don't have a lot of time, then we have the guys that just basically rent my show every week, and we build commercials with their voice on it. But every number that's given out on the show, because we can insert numbers, are their numbers, so they get all the leads.
And Coach, who does it start to make sense for? Where are they at in their career or production level? Are they just insurance? Are they advisors? Could you give some context for any people who are like at this point of the show?
Yeah, I've so many success stories. But when I was with a big FMO back in 2012 or so, when I launched this big out to different advisors, and I had 48 of the top 50 advisors on their leaderboard doing our show at the end. By the time they tried to steal all my stuff.
So the guys who know this is the model, and they want it to be turnkey simple. They want it to be simpler. They want it to be more scalable. They want some of their time back.
Yes.
Maybe they have a firm and a practice, and they're not dabblers. They're professionals. This is their career. They're topping the leaderboard across all the major players out there.
Put it this way, it cost me over $1 million a year to run my media company. And if I had somebody who would have been doing what I'm doing now, it would have it available for me, I never would have done this. It's way expensive to do what I'm doing. But
yeah, I've been to your office. If anybody doesn't know, like I know, like, and the fact that you have your office and people can come there, and there's other locations that people can go to make it easy. And then the fact is they could also achieve nearly the same outcome with technology and your guys' skill sets right in this moment that we're witnessing it right now of you live on this show, is that it's you can make it as simple or as scalable as they want it.
We have 8 professional voices, so we pair up you with whoever we think is going to be a good fit for you, too. So we have women and men.
So you get the co-host, you get to show up and be you in your zone of genius. a great book that I think, we had talked about at some of the events, and The Big Leap. I highly recommend you read it. You can just play in your zone, and Coach and his team will make it simpler for you so that whatever your level of production that your goals demand in the pursuit of why you joined this industry and who you serve and the market you want to do it in. And I know you're in multiple states, with, one of the guys on your team, and you do it yourself. You practice what you preach. You're an embodiment of what you help others do. And I think that's been, for me in this entire time we spent here together, what has been the truth of you in this entire industry, that you do it yourself, you get good at it, you're a pioneer, right? You find other people to serve. Sometimes they don't always reciprocate trust and the value that you led with. Stephen R. Covey said, trust is fast. It speeds things up. And you say, okay, lesson learned, next opportunity, right? And radio is still powerful today.
Oh yeah.
Right. And
all media.
And so is digital. And it's
Yep.
like, how do you want to skin the cat? What works for you? And I know Mike works with you, right?
Yep. Mike does too. We did a show for him.
Yeah. So how do they reach you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're gonna be in this business, be in this business, and let everyone know you're in this business. Be proud of what you're doing. CoachPete.com. Just go to CoachPete.com, and you can find my contact information there. CoachPete.com. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right? Keep it
Have to be
simple.
hard.
You gotta keep
it doesn't
simple.
have to be hard.
Keep it simple, and the money will
But
follow.
you do have to work hard.
I love working hard. If you don't
Me
love
too.
working hard, probably wrong business to be in, because we're in a constant flux of change here. We've got competition from every direction. But we'll talk in about 20 years, and I'll be doing something different probably. But it'll be something to do with financial world. But it'll be a different way to get in touch with people. But right now, media is what we found really works good. Media using your website to portray the videos, or TV stations, or putting some video to your audio segments and putting them all over Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. All sorts of different places to get the magic leads formula is to make sure you have leads coming from a lot of different directions.
Yeah. Well, anybody who has scale production knows that they're not one trick pony.
Correct.
They got diversity, platform diversity, medium diversity.
Yep.
And to be honest, in my short time in this industry, I've been around in sales, professional, digital marketing, working with some of the biggest people in this country. I don't know if there's anybody out there that is coming from a better place of experience and validation of doing it himself, doing radio and media and podcasts and that modern form of media, for people who want to top the leaderboards, for the big advisors, the firm owners, the professional service providers, the CFPs, the AUM guys, and the annuity only producers, but are really income, principal protection, planning specialists. I'm preaching to the choir here, but Coach is the guy for that. And that's why, he's now a friend of mine. I appreciate that, Coach, and the relationship that we've been able to build. And I just thank you so much for your time today. And I know that this conversation, whatever form it comes out in, and we'll share it with you before we do that, I know it's probably going to, I think it's going to serve a lot of people in this industry that are like, I want to go all in right where I'm at, or maybe make a shift to Coach and not shift your contracts. None of us are talking about that.
We don't want any contracts. Yeah.
No, neither of us are. Just to be clear, we want you, if you want to be a professional in this industry, to grow where you're planted or find where you need to be planted so that you can get what you want out of your life in the vehicle that you're in, and to be a professional. And so, Coach, I respect you, appreciate you. Thank you for giving me your time. I got so much. Maybe I talked a little too much today, but you're one of my favorite people in this industry, and thanks for hanging out with us.
Well, here's what I like about media. Final point here is it's a PR program that pays. I paid a lot of money for a PR firm back in the 2010 and 11, 12, $6,000 or $7,000 a month, and all they would do is promise me to get me on CNBC every now and then, or maybe an article. But I had no real income coming from that. Here, you're getting credibility because you're on the radio or on TV every single week, and we even have special call to actions we built that you can use to get people to call. And not only you're now getting known, you're getting richer than you were before. And so more money,
Compounds.
more credibility, more enjoyment. And that's what we try to do. I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy it with people that like to enjoy it like me. So that's why we work with people we want to work with. And so I like working with you. I'd love to work with anybody who's watching who wants to find out more about how to get yourself in that top 10% of the insurance professionals. We can help show you how to do that.
Yeah, and I think, yep. Coach, you're underselling top 10%. You work with the top 1% guys.
Yeah, top one.
Yeah,
We can help turn the
and
top
I
10
don't
to
mean
one.
to diminish. You take 10 percenters and turn them into
Yep.
1%ers.
But we did turn somebody in from I forgot to, you know how I am, I start tangent away, but we had
Yeah,
a
me too.
$10
Both
million
of us. Sorry.
producer at a big FMO, a $10 million producer. It took me a while to get him to do radio. He's in Northeast. He became a $300 million producer because of his radio show, and he actually sold his practice. So 10 million struggling in seminars. Not everyone's going to do this, but 300 million a year, sold his practice out, not a matter of time.
Yeah,
Built AUM up.
none of us here are making some like income claim that, you
Yeah.
know, if you just sign up here with Coach, you're going to, you know, strike the riches of gold like you went out west. What we're saying, success leaves clues.
Well, you
right?
can't find any gold if you don't have a gold pen, and we'll show you how to get the right gold pen in the right place to mine.
That's right.
All
That's
right?
right. Love
Always
it,
good
Coach.
to see you, brother.
Likewise, Coach. Pleasure, and we'll talk real soon. I'll see you real soon. So
Yes,
it's going to
sir.
be awesome. Cheers.
Take care.